The basic of why individual is a very important thing to the entire system. Individuals are the core of what? Individuals are the core of everything, right? Ethics are everything. Without individual there is nothing. Why? Even if you become CAG, even if you become an IAS officer, if you are a head of an NGO or a company marketing head or anything, what will happen? It will be the individual who will be deciding the things. So all the rules in the world cannot stop you from being corrupt if you are morally corrupt. So I plays a huge role. So what does I do? So everything I do will be considered as ethics, or only certain things will be considered as ethics is the most important thing. So ethics is about right and wrong. Yes, ethics is about consequences. Ethics is about good or bad. So morals are the same thing, values are also same thing. Some values are good, some values are bad. Some ethics are good, some ethics are bad. Sorry, not some decisions are good, some decisions are bad. Some benefits are there, some harms are there. So everything you do will have some consequences, and the consequences are the ones that are being judged. So when someone says, ethics case study, it's per se not ethics case study, it's a framework that we are supposed to see. Yes or no? If you are an IAS, you are bound by rules and regulations. Yes, you are an executive, you have limited resources. For example, if 12 children are joining the government hospital every day, right? And 12 children are joining a government hospital every day, but there are only 10 seats, but the 2 children are suffering unnecessarily and one of them are dying every day, right? So you are a district collector, you have the power to amend that, but you are not God. You cannot conjure 2 beds out of the thin air. You have to follow the proper due process. So it may or may not come immediately. So you are under a certain circumstance. So if I blame you, you did not provide 2 beds because I am a relative of that particular child, you cannot respond by saying, I'm just a tool, I don't have the power and authority. You have to pacify him, right? How do you do that? That framework should not be broken. You cannot angrily shout at him in the same tone. Why? He has lost someone. At the same time, you are responsible to get the beds. So what is the best course of action? What are the benefits and harm? If you continue the same thing, tomorrow some other relative will come and shout at you, right? So how do you get that extra beds? And at the same time, how do you manage the anger? Yes or no? The superior will be telling we don't have funds. The people will be getting very emotional. So you are in a very tricky position. You cannot shout at the senior. You cannot shout at the common public. So how do you manage your own emotions and do the right thing within your limited capacity? So that's a very, very tricky area that you stay in. That is where you have to choose the particular things, right? Again, at the same time, you cannot say I will use my personal money to get 2 beds, right? That will be a different issue. Now, so how do we know, or how do we judge that any action can be an ethical decision? So yesterday I asked Sindhu whether you know that somebody is going to be killed or not. If you don't know, if you walk away, is it an ethical decision? The answer is no, because there is no knowledge involved. Yes or no? That means as long as I don't know that this particular thing is being done for a particular consequences, as long as the knowledge is not involved, your action is not judged as ethical or unethical. Knowledge involved, that means everything you do, you know what you are doing. For example, you are totally drunk in an aberrated state, right? You went and crashed into a tree. Sorry, you went and crashed into a person. You killed him. So what is your plea? I was not under total consciousness. I was not under knowledge. I don't know what I was doing, right? I was probably given drugs, right? So I don't know what I was doing. So is it an ethical action? But you were very well knowingly done that you have taken alcohol. Yes or no? You know the consequences of alcohol. So whatever you do or whatever that happens after you take a particular decision is also your choice. You cannot claim that I am innocent, I was under influence of alcohol. So what happened to you when you are sober? You willingly took alcohol, right? Unless someone forced you the alcohol, that is done voluntarily. Yes or no? So you went to a party, a friend's birthday party, so someone gave you a drug, you don't know that it was a drug, you took it. So then you have committed some crime. Technically you are legally punishable but not ethically wrong. Yes or no? Ethically I can't judge you because the drug was given to you without your choice. You don't even know that you are taking a drug. So somebody mixed something in a cool drink, right? So knowledge is involved that you are going to a party, but you thought it's a birthday party. If you know that drugs will be there in that party and then you claim innocence, that is not acceptable. Are we understanding? Right? Knowledge should be there, it should be voluntarily, and it should be done freely. Done freely in the sense, sometimes not making a choice is also a choice. Sometimes not making a choice is also a choice. That means you heard that there will be probably drugs in a party, so you took a choice not to go to that particular party, or you went to that party knowing freely. Yes, it's not like someone can force you certain things, right? You were very clearly conscious that knowledge is involved and you have done it freely. So voluntarily, I have put a gun on Hare Krishna's head and said, kill Srinidhi. Yes? Then is it ethical action? He cannot be blamed. Ethically, even legally also he will be protected more or less, because if there is a CCTV camera recording, everybody will know that I have forced him at his own life. Yes. So these are the three main determinants that you have to remember: knowledge involved, voluntary, and done freely. That is what we call as object, end, and circumstances also in a different sense. Okay, object, end, and circumstances. So what is the object? Why you are doing what you are doing? You know very clearly. Yes, you have a choice to make. Okay, and you also know the end game. So if you drink alcohol, you will suffer cognitive disruptance, right? So anything can happen in that particular state. So everything that flows or stems is your fault. So remember diagrammatical format, it's like this. When you first take a choice, it's yes or no. It's like that matrix, right? Red pill or blue pill. After that, so normally we see this much only, but what will happen? You get the idea, right? You don't know what anything can happen, and it flows multiple stems. But the thing is, everything started with the first decision you are making. Yes. So knowledge involved, you may not see the end game, but you have a consequences. For example, if you apply to ethics, applied ethics, gene editing, what am I choosing to do? Should I edit the genes or shouldn't I? Simple. So in China, a particular scientist have done something called as gene editing. For what? To protect an embryo from HIV/AIDS. So twin girls were protected from HIV/AIDS. So he made a choice. Okay, will the twins will have mutated genes? Okay, will they create a new kind of disease, or will it have mutation effects? Will it create cancers in the future? Probably they were less tolerant to cancer than the others. I don't know the consequence. Yes, it might happen 30 years down the line. I don't know. Yes, so setting up a chemical industry within the heart of the city is a choice. Why? I can take all the precautions in the world, but still one day a disaster might happen and the casualty will be very high. It's a choice. So the first choice will look very innocent and simple, but the thing is, the ramifications are manifold. If you remember that ethics case study where a sexual harassment case was there, a marketing head was there, very profitable, the sexual harassment has happened, so you didn't fire him. Let's say hypothetically you gave money to her, you didn't fire him. Okay, your company was growing fine, your company became $2 billion company. Then one day he has done something similar and that person went to the media. Okay, in Telugu there is an idiom, right? Peru peddadi aithe chillu kuda peddadi. So in the sense, the bigger your name, the more your damage to reputation. In the same way, so when you are a small company, probably it wouldn't have mattered, but because you suppressed something bad, okay, it came back to bite you. Yes or no? You cannot have a snake in the house and not expect it to bite you one day. Yes, unless it's a python. Yes, so you get the idea, right? The thing is, the first decision is the most important decision, and you need to know why you are taking. For example, you are the HR manager, but your boss told you, keep him, fire her. Keep him, fire her. It's not a voluntary act, right? You are not having a free choice. You are not having a free will. Either you have to quit your job or do what is told to you. The same is the Tanishq example. Yes. Next. Are we clear so far? Knowledge. Yes.
The second and third difference.
Yes, voluntarily here is, see, done freely and I understand what you are trying to say. The choice of words can be different, but that is standardized. Now, voluntary means, let's say, knee-jerk reaction. Something happened to you, you know, something has bitten you or you have done something, right? So, knee-jerk reactions are not voluntary reactions, right? You get the idea? Done freely is a choice. Here it is more about done freely is a choice. You are taking the choice in a voluntary fashion. For example, the marriage of a girl, right? So normally speaking, in society wise,
Third lead to second, sir, because it is done freely, it is voluntary.
Here multiple factors will come into the picture. For example, I am coercing you. You don't have a choice. Here you have a choice. Okay. So see, here it's more about you know, pressurizing you. For example, I have kidnapped your wife and I am asking you to sign the contract. Here you have the choice, right? So it's a very subtle difference, but again, when you do the case studies, you will definitely understand the difference, because sometimes you gone too deeply into a particular project or something. Now you can't come back, right? That is a choice. Still you can come back. Here you are not given a choice in the first place. So this situation doesn't arise here, right? And even if you have done something like this because of force or sheer pressure, okay, that is not your problem. This is your problem, because you always had a choice. You could have resigned, right? You can resign, right? So again, we will discuss about it in a bit, right? Determinants. Yesterday I told you determinants of ethics. What are determinants? Determine. They will determine who you are. So there is a famous book by Robin Sharma. He says, you are the 5 people who you spend your time with. You spend time with donkeys, you will become a donkey. You spend time with, you know, people who don't believe in themselves, you will also have start self-doubting yourself. So that is a socialization. Yes or no? If all your friends are smokers or corrupt people, probability is very high that you will also become corrupt and a smoker. Yes, it doesn't happen naturally, but the chances are very, very high. Now, so I studied a table. I hope I will share the PDF. Don't worry. Even in the any standard textbook, you have determinants of ethics. The first and most important determinant of ethics is religion. All of you know, religion everywhere has a lot of implication on ethics. LGBT is the best case scenario. Yes, why? Victorian morals or Christian morals says that is something immoral act. So immoral acts, when codified, becomes law, and they are societal ethics or societal norms. You have to understand, religion alone cannot create ethics, right? Religion, society norms, cultural norms, circumstances, situations and geography, everything will come into a picture. Someone living in an island, someone living in some island cannot be a vegetarian probably. Yes or no? I mean, the chances are very slim. Let's say there is no agricultural development. They were not connected to the greater world. Someone in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Shompens or some tribals. You cannot have your Victorian ethics or morals and apply them to them. Yes or no? Sometimes religion is a product of your geographical area. Yes or no? Think about it. If you are in Rajasthan, you cannot go for, you know, Abhishekas continuously. Thar desert people, probably your religious values will also change because of your geographical circumstances. So everything is interlinked with everything else. So religion is more about faith. See, there are spectacular arguments in every religion. Religions are very logical if you look at the right scriptures or the right lines. Okay, but religion literature is huge. So that is why instead of going for a rational thing, we go with faith. Yes, whereas ethics is a logical or reasonable argument. How do I arrive at a particular decision? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? That should be logical, not on faith based. Yesterday I told you, right? As she pointed out, if I say, I will give you 25% of the corruption, you may not see the immediate punishment. Yes, so faith, for 5 times you took corruption and gave 25% to the temple, nothing happened to you. Okay, you will be corrupt. But let's say organization rules, you have taken corruption, the second time they caught you and punished you. The ethical standards of organizations have been upheld. Yes or no? See, if I want to be corrupt, I will find arguments. If I want to be honest, I will also find arguments. So what is the simplest arguments? All those people who take corrupt, their families are having problems, they have health issues, they can't sleep happily in the night. But if you ask the person who is taking corruption, he will say, I'm fantastic. Yes, it's a choice, it's a faith rather than a reason. I am coming to a reasonable argument because I don't want to even lose 1 night of sleep. If I am honest, then I will be honest. It's a logical decision rather than a emotional or faith based decision. Most of the times religions cannot be questioned. Most of the times. Charlie Hebdo, you can take so many cases, right? Religions cannot be questioned, whereas ethics should be questioned and ethics will be questioned. For example, sati. Sati is a social morality concept. Yes or no? Sati was a good thing according to the society in back then. Good or bad, right? So if a husband dies, the wife should also be sacrificed so that they can be happy in the heaven. Yes or no? So that was a good thing according to the society back then. If Raja Ram Mohan Rai didn't question it, okay, it would have still prevailed probably. Yes, so ethics or morals or values can always be questioned. Only then they will be get strengthened. You cannot take them per se. Not all values. Love is a universal compassion, right? Love is the most ethical higher standard we can have. So you don't need to have question for love. But again, you can always question, should love be given to terrorists? Yes or no? If there are happy families, probably there wouldn't be terrorists. Probably, right? If there is no poverty, probably there won't be any radicalization. So that compassion is probably a universal value that is missing rather than questioning love. Are we clear? See, Ajmal Kashyap ran away from his family because his father refused to buy him some gifts or some clothes for Ramzan. I'm not humanizing the enemy, but I'm telling you that he was a kid who ran away from the house, who got into the hands of wrong people. So poverty is a threat to any prosperity anywhere. Yes? Now, ethics is developed through critical thinking. Everything has to be questioned and everything has to be discussed. Only then standards will be set. Yesterday I showed you a waves argument, individual values, morals and ethics, right? So everything is interlinked. Today we decided that these are ethical standards. Killing is a wrong thing. Srinidhi was saying yesterday. Yes? Why? If you go back to 10,000 years of human history, that is where ethics evolved, right? Yesterday we did not finalize, okay, all human lives are sacred. We created that ethical standard after thousands of years, millions of lives. After seeing Holocaust, after seeing Second World War, First World War, Indo-Pakistan War, everything, then as a society, as a humanity as a whole, we came to an argument that all lives are important. It's not an overnight decision, right? Or it's not a divine commandment. I hope you understand. So ethics will always take time to develop, and critical thinking is what creates that particular standards. The beauty is religion is also a huge thing. Religion also happens over a period of time. Religion is not created, or religions are not formed overnight, right? They are also created with thousands of years of history. But the problem is this and this. Faith when used for human development is a good thing. Faith when used for personal growth is a bad thing. For example, a temple priest is there, a very honest person, he doesn't do any corruption. Okay, then there is some other priest who says, you know, whoever comes to the temple has to bring these gifts. Faith cannot be questioned, right? Yes. So what happens? That one single person moved the religion away from faith to, from rationality to subjective arguments. I will tell you a simple example. There is a family called as Medici family. Medicis, Venice. Medicis are considered as the richest people in the planet back then, 17th, 16th centuries. Medici family. The Venice trade was very flourishing, Constantinople, very center of the earth. So the Silk Road made them billionaires back then. So that family had 4 popes. You know, Pope controls the entire Christianity, right? So back then the state and church were overlapping. So Pope had unlimited power. So that single family produced 4 popes. I think I might be wrong in the number, but the thing is, personal, you know, religion and that personal moral values come into the picture, and I will use that power for self growth, right? Not for welfare. So I have moved religion from ethical standards to personal standards. Are we clear? Okay, and I will start imposing my values, saying them as religious values. If I am a priest, or if I am a pope, or if I am someone like that who has unlimited power, I don't like homosexuality, then I will promote it as a religious value rather than going back to the original doctrines. See, again, religions are not evil. Application of religions is the problem.
Sir, if there's ever a question regarding religion versus ethics, can you write the recent example of that boy being thrashed by the...
Definitely you can write. Religion promotes universal compassions, right? So instead of seeing it as an end, we have made it into a means, right? So religion is the end itself. Okay, we are using it as a means. Again, please understand, we are not talking about one particular religion or one particular incident. Thousands of years of history, thousands of problems, thousands of issues and ethical standards, and they overlap. They are not two different things. For table example, I am using them, but 90% they overlap. Show me any ethical standard, I will show similar example in a religion, and vice versa is equally true. So religions are good, but the practice of religions are the problem. Are we clear? Now, superstitions, where do they come from? Society or religion, culture. So, religion, society, culture, tradition, can they be separated? Religion, society, culture, traditions, can they be separated? Can individual be separated from all these things? Right? So individual is the heart of the everything. He is a part of society. He follows cultures, he follows traditions, he follows norms. Yes. So again, these things go in reverse way also. So one thing will influence the another thing. So that is why it is very, very important. Now we can cite examples like Sabarimala. Right. See, gender justice can be considered as an ethical value. Men and women are equal. Men and women are equal, but certain doctrines in religion says they are not, or during certain times they are not. Then who is correct, who is not? Just keep that thought in mind. Okay. Now if we go back to the ancient times, probably for health reasons or hygiene reasons, right, it was considered as a taboo. But now things have changed in the modern days. Understanding has improved, appreciation has improved. So the choice of whether it's a correct thing or a wrong thing is what societal morality versus constitutional morality is all about. Triple talaq, yes or no? Triple talaq is a wrong thing, you know, but if you go to the religious scripture, it doesn't give you instant triple talaq. There is no such thing as instant triple talaq in Islam. They have a very logical procedure. Like you have to have arbitration, you have to bring in the families, you have to discuss, you have to have certain time period. After so much amount of negotiations, only then the final divorce will be given. So that religion itself promotes a lot of gender equality, whereas the practice has changed it into a instant triple talaq. But law has now come and rectified the mistake. So law has determined a new ethical standard in the society that triple talaq is wrong. Yes or no? So nobody is saying you cannot give talaq. Everybody is saying you have to follow the due process for gender justice. So the ultimate aim or ultimate ethical standard here is justice, gender justice. Everybody is equal, and it did not happen overnight, right? Raja Ram Mohan Rai didn't have the support of the Supreme Court or law. He has to persuade society first, then it was codified. I hope you remember. Now the opposite is true. Now the court has codified it, now the society has to accept it. So the standards have changed from 18th century to 21st century, or 19th century to 21st century. Are we clear? I hope you understand. Any questions? Again, remember, let's say take example of sati. Sati was a good thing according to certain sections of the society. Sati was a good thing, but we slowly understand killing a human being is a wrong thing, right? This journey did not happen overnight. This journey happened through reforms, education, awareness, and behavioral changes. So we set a new ethical standard with a lot of effort. So ethics is determined through religion. To fight sati, they also took religion's help, right? They showed that there is no religious sanction within Hinduism to support sati. Then they brought law, then they brought society, then they brought culture, customs. So everything determined a new ethical standard that killing a human being is a wrong thing. Here it was good, here it is wrong. So what changed or what determined this as a new standard? Religion, society, culture, traditions, norms, law, education, knowledge. Yes or no? Here everybody believed probably Hinduism sanctioned sati. Here knowledge changed of the people. There is no sanction in the Hinduism. So don't demonize the religion, demonize the practice. So we are setting a new ethical standards. We determined a new standard. So now gene editing. Today we are here. Gene editing is a good thing for people suffering with genetic defects. But how do we arrive at an ethical standard for gene editing? Again, societies, culture, tradition, knowledge, time, science, understanding, everything, right? Today we are arguing that it is good for people suffering from genetic disease. Here we will set it should be used only for people suffering from genetic diseases, not for designer babies, not to create a new generation of IQ soldiers, yes, not to create biological weapons or animals. So we will set golden standards here. So that is a journey that only comes with new increase in knowledge, determines. I hope that example is more than enough for you to understand. Yes, any questions? Yes, Sharath?
You mentioned a point where change in society is codified to bring the change, and in the other case, the codification brings the societal change. So can you maybe elaborate a bit on that point? One capitalizes on the trust which has been built later, and one is building the trust.
Again, it's based on circumstance and situation. For example, India is not ready for same-sex marriage, right? So let's say same-sex marriage. Same-sex marriage is a correct thing or a wrong thing?
According to the government, it's correct.
Again, according to government also, as of today, it is not correct, right? Law hasn't determined.
It is also not wrong, right? So what is not wrong is maybe
Again, we will come to that legal, ethical, legal argument. But the thing is, what I'm trying to tell you is, society has changed to that level where women or men are independent from their own families. Okay, for example, earlier we were joint families, agricultural families. If someone says, I'm having same-sex affair, but that particular person also has to come and stay with you. So society very vehemently opposed all such things. Now you have nuclear families, you have your own financial independence, right? So with the change in knowledge, with change in time, and with change in situation, same-sex marriages can flourish. Yes or no? So we cannot call it as a wrong thing, right? We cannot call it as a wrong thing, because love is a universal ethical standard we have appreciated. Love can happen between two men, two women, or anyone. Now same-sex marriage is here. Okay, we have to set a new standard for the society, not by force, not by faith, not by arguments. It's through reasoning why it is okay. So if let's say law tomorrow government of India or Supreme Court gave a judgment saying, you know, same sex marriage is allowed in India, legally it has become okay, correct, legally it's right thing, right? Then what will happen? Seeing this, more and more families might start accepting that. Yes, 10 years down the line, a kid born in India will not even know that same sex marriage was a crime. His entire generation starts to believe that, you know, it's a very normal thing. 25 years down the line, someone born in India will never think that LGBT was once upon a time a crime, unless he starts preparing for UPSC. Yes, so that it moved, right? Law helped it to society, society helped it to become a standard. So that law from here to here, that push came from law. Yes, because it is sanctioned by law, nobody can punish me, moral policing cannot be done, then it will become a societal standard. When everybody in the society considers it's a good thing, then it will become a ethical standard. That understanding has to be there, clear? And you know, I'm talking about decades. Small cultural things will start changing. For example, parties might give more tickets to LGBT communities, transgender communities. It might normalize the people. When it normalizes the people, or when it normalizes the third gender, what will happen? Their love stories or their families will also become normalized. They will become the story of the society. Are we clear? See, you know, what do we think? When we see a person, we expect a white hair or a black hair, right? So tomorrow I get my hair dyed in a red color. Don't you think everybody will stop staring at me? Like, people will stop and stare, right? It's a very glossy shade of red. Entire hair is red. Or green, radium green. What will happen? Society is not used to that, so that is why society hates it. Yes or no? They will try to shave my head, or they will blame me, or they will call me names, they will treat me as an outlier. But you know, if 100 people in the city are roaming like that, you know, for 10 people they will shout, after 11th case, they will say, these people are mad, let them die. Yes, after that, you know, some will get purple, some will get blue, some will get white, some will get yellow. So coloring of hair becomes a new standard. So societal acceptance has come, but it doesn't happen overnight. So individual can set new ethical standards, but it has to be sanctioned. Then probably a case will go to court. You know, IAS officer cannot have a green hair because he is the highest standard of the society. He is a public servant. Then Supreme Court might say freedom of expression, let him die. DYE, not DIE. Okay. Then last sanction has come. Yes. So if an IAS is getting a green hair, why not me? So all the youth in the country might get inspiration. So culturally, a hero might get the same thing. Yes, please.
So again, coming to the same point, sanction of the law, it can also push give a push to the wrong ethical notions, right? Similarly.
So that is the beauty of law, right? It doesn't happen that quickly or easily. Let's say tomorrow a judgment came from Supreme Court saying, you know, Shabarimala is still open to everyone. Then the women of India or Kerala or the country can say, you know, we are okay to go to it, but we don't want to go to it.
So I'm considering the love jihad.
Love jihad. So again, you cannot codify it, right? It's very difficult to justify.
But then some things have already come, right?
Yeah. Again, as I told you, it doesn't happen overnight. It will take decades of struggle. Let's say, see, honestly speaking, the bill that is passed in Parliament yesterday, the Delhi Lieutenant Governor tussle, okay, constitutional morality wise, you know, it's not a logical thing in the long run, because elected representatives are always more powerful than the governor. But going by due process or law and procedure established by law, the government of India is saying Lieutenant Governor is the government, right? It's a new moral standard, it's a new ethical standard they have set. Let's say hypothetically, not ethical but legal standard have been set. Is it a right thing or a wrong thing? according to law, it's a right thing. According to the law, it's a right thing. It will be implemented. Every other day, some case will be there in Supreme Court. Then what will happen? 10 years down the line, some government will realize it's better to give back power to assembly rather than to lieutenant governor, because you can put a horse before cart before a horse. Okay, it will run for some time. It's not efficient. Nobody said you cannot run a horse, right? You can put a horse, then horse, cart, efficiency, inefficiency. So this is not a rational thing. This is a rational thing. This is time tested. It is time tested. It is empirical. Yes, it is universal. It has lot of advantages. This will have inefficiency, problems, politicization. Tomorrow you might be the horse. Today you are the cart. Problems will come. Then what will happen? Changes might happen. So this may run for 25 years. Okay, but in the long run, if you are really rational, this has to be implemented. Who knows? Delhi might become a state. Then you cannot run a state with the governor as a head. That will have a lot of implications on the fiscal federalism. Federalism per se. If governors of India started becoming powerful, then it's more like a dictatorship rather than a democracy. Yes, you get the idea.
To bring the society changes in a quicker fashion,
Mm-hmm.
is it good to have a retributive laws, or is it better to have a informative awareness?
Again, I will answer the same in just a while. I understood your question, but we'll quickly move to some other thing. Right now, ethics and morality. All of you know morality is right and wrong. Ethics is also about right and wrong. But ethics is a framework that is set by the society, external, whereas morality comes from internal sources. Alright, so what might be ethical may not be moral. What might be moral may not be ethical. Both are equally true, right? It can be both ethical and moral.
So aren't they both the same? I mean, it works at the individual level and then ethics at the society level. So moral plus moral becomes ethics. So isn't it the same except for the level at which they operate?
Definitely. Here the source is determinant, right? Like how is morality converting into ethics? See, here our ultimate objective is what? Ethics. So moral might be high. Ethics may not be in the same standard. So this diagram might be misrepresentative, but I will tell you same thing. Ethics is here. Okay, moral is here. Okay. So for some issues or some topics, okay, morality is having a higher ground. That means your choice is better than societal norms. Okay, in some standards, societal norms are higher than your standards, right? So we are not saying all morals are ethics, right? We never said that. Okay, all morals are never ethics. So what might be moral for me may not be ethical, but most of the times ethics are morals. Again, not all ethics are also moral standards. Society can be wrong sometimes. Yes or no? So again, you have to bring that individual into the core. If you are always sticking with that individual, you will understand everything very nicely. Are we clear? Sharath, confused? Say for example, again, I am okay with same-sex marriages. Okay, it is not ethical according to the society. So as of now, my morals are considerably more rational than the societal established standards. Okay, so if you give an argument, same-sex marriages will increase HIV cases. Okay, that is why I don't want same-sex marriages. That is one thing. If you say religion, that can be discussed. Yes or no? But at the end of the day, I have to filter. There are solutions for all the problems. You can always use contraceptives, safe sex practices. Yes, society has changed. It's not like the olden days. There are better treatments. So it's not a thing, right? So I can give that arguments. So we will discuss, it might take decades or something, then probably one day you will also accept LGBT is not a threat to the society or individual. Tanishq ad. In what sense? Hmm. 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 So society is not accepting is society's choice, but here I will tell you one thing. First example, Tanishq ad, he is not creating an independent capacity, right? He is representing a brand. Point number one, he is representing a brand of that particular company. So when you represent the brand of the company, you are bound by that particular company's values. And the second important thing here is, how do you differentiate the moral value of that individual to the company value? Company has its own standards. When the company said, or the boss said, please remove that ad so that everybody will be happy. You are removing it not because of your personal choice, but for the organization's choice. If you are creating or writing a post on an independent capacity, that is a moral choice. You need not take it down, and I will support it. Yes? Any other questions? See, again, as I told you, the first 3 days or the first 3 chapters are very boring, but at the same time, they are core. When you write anything in future, answers, ethics case studies, this will be crystal clear, then answers will flow naturally. Or else you will still write the answers, but just like putting the cart before the horse. It will be mechanistic, you will still get 4 out of 10, but the target is 6. 6 comes naturally. You cannot go on there and say, utilitarianism, Bentham, divine commandment theory. You cannot dump keywords and expect marks. Right? You have to make that connections. So as I was saying, all values or all morals are not equal to ethics. So values are also one determinants. Yes. Next we have social norms, societal norms. Societal norms also are one determinant of ethics. Then traditions, customs, religion, everything is a determinant of ethics. So my religion, your religion, when they collide, that is where conflict comes into the picture. If you see Jainism, they take brooms while walking, the Jain monks. Why? They don't want to kill an insect or an ant also. They don't want to create a new karma cycle. Okay, so they are very careful to use the broom while walking, so that not even ant is being killed by accident. They don't eat that what we call as root based potatoes and all those things. Okay, Jiva Himsa. So they have their own ethical standards. If you take some other religion, for example, when they have a festival, they prefer sacrifice of the animals and celebrate it. Okay, so on one end you don't have a problem. When you are in isolation, okay, you don't have a problem. But when they overlap, the conflict zone happens. That is where the friction is. But now if I have to take an ethical standard or an ethical argument, I will probably take extremism of anything is wrong. Yes, I am not saying you are wrong. From my point of view, extremism of any standard is wrong. 24/7 eating meat is not good for you. At the same time, extreme penance is also not good for you. A healthy balanced diet is what is needed for everyone, right? And again, if I have to argue on vegetarian non-vegetarianism, I will take the side of protecting the planet. If you want to stop eating meat, stop eating the meat for the sake of planet, not for your beliefs. So I am setting a higher ethical standard. Why? Sustainability, right? See, animals have ethics. For example, cow, again applied ethics. You take cow as a holy animal, right? But you lock it down in a cow shed, cattle shed. You artificially inseminate it continuously. You will breed it. The calves will come, the milk will be coming on, artificial insemination, and the circle will keep on going. Is it happy? Is a cow happy? Can we go back to the old golden days where thousands of acres were available and cattle was freely allowed to go roam everywhere and come back in the evening and I will milk some part of it? Do you have that ethical practice? Are you getting the idea? See, whenever you see a calf's mouth will be gagged. Why? The farmer doesn't want the calf to drink all the milk. He wants to make profit out of it. It's not a wrong thing. But taking it to the next level of corporatization of cattle, animal husbandry, then you construct apartments. Cows will be in the floors wise. Yes. So is it right or wrong? So if I have to argue, I will have to argue for overall ethical standards, not what suits me. Just because I hate some particular community, I will pick up, you kill cows, you eat cows. Okay? If you really love cows, talk everything related to cows, not some part of the cows. That is a higher ethical standard. I want that animal to be happy. That is my ethical standard. Are we clear? I hope you understand. So always the friction has to be not seen from a narrow point of view. Ethics is a higher standard. It's a utopian scenario. A farmer cannot survive without gagging the calf. At the same time, farmers as a community developed that value system over thousands of years. They know how much to allow. At the same time, not to get into losses. They keep the calf happy, they keep the cow happy, they are also happy. That golden balance has been achieved by traditional systems. Yes or no? Grandfather will teach the son. Now, if you are a corporate farmer, what will you do? You will put a mission. You are not even doing it by hand, right? You are putting a mission and it will milk till maximum extent. I hope you understand. Right? So, that value system has to change. So, religion, you get the idea, right? Frictions happen. Now, last 2 minutes. So, time and place. So, see, time is an important factor in determinant of ethics. What was ethical few years ago may not be ethical few years later. So, with time, everything changes. Let's say society and religion are like two eyes of the time. Yes or no? Time per se doesn't judge. Yes or no? Time per se doesn't judge. It is the lens which we see through the time is what determines ethics. For example, Tipu Sultan example. People started hating Tipu Sultan. Okay, why? I want to see him through a religious lens. He persecuted certain communities. Okay, in 16th century, was I wise? To protect my seat, what do? I kill my own brother. Ashoka killed his own brothers to come into the power. So is Ashoka immoral? Unethical. But I am seeing it from the time frame of 21st century, not from 14th century or 16th century. Right? So the same applies. Sati or anything. Yes. For example, your parents' generation, they considered wealth creation is more important. I mean, in the sense, saving is more important rather than blindly doing things. They used to walk for 4 miles to save 10 rupees so that the next generation will be happy. Now, the present generation is what? They will pay extra for quick service. The value or the value we have attached to money has changed. They used to walk 4 miles. We will give 4 rupees extra to reach that extra mile or to get that auto quickly. Yes, surge prices or whatever. We are happy with it. The quicker the delivery, the more we pay, we are okay with it. And there was a time where in India, wealth creation is seen as an immoral thing. If somebody is rich, he is doing something wrong. You cannot create wealth with moral values. That is what is societal norms. Now, Prime Minister has come and said, wealth creators should be celebrated. Virat Kohli has made thousands of, if not hundreds of crores. Okay, Dhoni had made hundreds of crores. Is there anything illegal? Opportunities that were not there 20 years ago are there now. So, they are able to make that money. Yes or no? So, wealth creation per se, the perception we attach it to has changed. And you can see thousands of examples like this, religion wise also. I hope you understand. Clear? Yes. So, knowledge. What will knowledge do? Knowledge will also set new ethical standards, new moral standards. For example, Hillary Clinton and Obama, they were having this electoral contest for president, right? Presidentship. Obama, Hillary Clinton and Obama were competitors for Democratic seats, Republican seats, I guess, whatever, Republican seats. So they were contesting for the presidency back then. Okay. So when they were competitors, one day a reporter came, or some news came out through some channels, that the teenage daughter of Hillary Clinton was pregnant or something like that. Okay. So Obama very maturely responded, my mother was also a teenage mother, like teenage pregnant. Right. So knowledge can punch holes in the existing knowledge or set better ethical standards. I could have used it to set a new low moral standard, or I can use it to set a higher moral standard. No, so now nobody can use that particular argument ever again, right? So teenage pregnancy is not a crime. We all fall in love, we all do mistakes, right? So we need to be more understanding, accepting. So that has set a new moral standard. I am not saying it's an ethical standard, it's a new moral standard. So what happens when you have new knowledge? You will punch holes in the existing standards. Then you will replace or find better alternatives. That is what knowledge does to ethics. It will keep on updating like a software. Every other day your Google updates will come, right? App updates, 30 MB. I don't know what they will release every other day, 30 GB, right? Bug fixes. So our standards are not, so again, as I told you, all standards are conceptual, vague. Only when you face it in a different ways, you will come to experience, right? For example, you found 10 rupees note on a road. Will you give it back to the owner? You saw someone taking money out of the pocket, 10 rupees fall down, you will pick up and say, okay. Okay, let's say hypothetically, tomorrow a truck came to your house with 100 crore rupees, wrong delivery. Supposed to go to a minister's office. It came to you. Okay, and nobody will ever know. Will you drive back? Yes. Hypothetical questions, hypothetical answers, right? Obviously. All of you get that idea. So, yes, 100 crore truck, will you drive back? You can't answer humanly possibly, right? Because we never have seen such a scenario. I have never received 100 rupees also. Why will I give back 100 crores? But the consequences has to be understood. Are we clear? Yes. Next, law. All of you understand law and the relation between ethics, right? Laws, codified values are laws. Laws are rational. Laws are not emotional. All laws are arrived after a long consensus and debate. No laws are created out of thin air. Religious doctrines are different things. Laws are different things. When I say right to equality, I did not come to right to equality overnight, right? Dr. Ambedkar faced a lot of struggle throughout his life, and all the constitutional framers have seen how inequality promotes hatredness. So that is why they codified that into a equality. Article 17, untouchability. Why did we have to codify it? Why did we have to make it a law? Because they have seen that societal norm is a wrong thing, that moral standard is wrong, but for society it's a right thing. I am an upper caste fellow, I have the right to treat you like that. That is societal morality, but it's a wrong thing. That is how they used law to convert something immoral into a better ethical standard. So laws have a powerful relation with ethics, ethical standards. So most laws will uphold the ethical standards, but not all laws are ethical. Again, remember, whatever determinants you write, ethics is above all of them. I hope you understand. Yes. Questioning, as I told you, questioning. Next is political administrative system or organization. That is where your Tanishq example comes into the picture. So if I am working in a particular organization, that organization will shape my own values. Let's say you have joined an IAS in 2022 batch. All of your batchmates are getting good posts because they are doing psychophancy, or they are bending the value systems. You are not willing to bend the value systems. Okay, but everybody is getting the promotion. So are you happy where you are? Then you won't bend your rules. But if you also want promotion, you will lower the standards. Are we clear? And lastly, individual traits. The stories that your grandmother told you have deeply ingrained in you. So deeply that nothing in the planet can change them. So these are the determinants. Are we clear? So if you open any standard books, you will find the variants of the same things more or less with the different examples. For example, Sachin Tendulkar never promoted alcohol. He refused ads from big brands in relation to alcohol because he believes it's immoral. That comes from an individual trait. It's not religious, ethical, legal or all those things. It's an individual trait that he chose to uphold. I hope you understand. Clear? So again, as I told you, theory is one thing, throwing an example is the most important thing in the ethics. The moment you throw an example, it makes more sense. Are we clear? Yes. I will explain this diagram, then we will move on, or tomorrow we will continue, don't worry. Tomorrow we will continue. Yes. So go home, read the particular thing. Yes. Yes. Any questions from what we have discussed? See, again, as I told you, it's very easy. It's a 5 minutes class, right? If you scale it down in the overall preparation, ethics classes are like what? 15 hours. You know what is ethics, what is morals, you read DK Balaji, you have read Harvard videos and all those things. But the thing is, application in the sense that you will be in the top 2000, not in the top 10,000. I am not talking about people who will write mains. I am talking about people who will attend the interviews. So to be among them, your answer should be really polished. Okay, and you should totally digest them like juice. And 2013 papers, textbook, 2000 paper, 20 paper, totally dynamic. Talk to anyone who wrote mains in 2020, without practice, if they went to the mains hall and saw that ethics paper, it's like a bouncer. Every question is a bouncer. Now, entire paper is a bouncer paper. Okay, some of them gave up last 2 ethics case studies. They didn't attend at least 30 marks in ethics papers because of time crunch. The questions made them think so much, they got frustrated and they couldn't write the full answer paper. So it was that difficult. I'm not exaggerating, I'm telling you the honest truth. You can write it, it's not a big deal. But you are not writing what is asked, you are writing what you know. Huge difference. So that is why deep understanding of ethics has become an obligation, prerequisite. Now everybody knows, as I told you yesterday, optional ethics and essay. But very few people understand 150, 100 and 300 is not a joke. 280 to 300 is like extra 100 hours. Only when you put in the extra 100 hours, your score will move from 280 to 300 in optional. It's not like you read extra chapter and you will get your scores. It doesn't happen. Okay, so please be very clear. Spend good amount of time creating your own charts, thought process, analyze, examples. Spend more time understanding this. Give 1 month to the first chapter itself, it's totally worth it. Why? The moment examples come to you naturally, right, that will flow into the rest of the paper quite easily. Okay? Yes? See you all tomorrow.